Okay, 7 o'clock, Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. All right. We have no presentations. We do have a public hearing. And public hearing number 1, consider holding a public hearing to receive public input on the proposed Reinvestment Housing Incentive District Development Plan and Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Deaton. We open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? We'll open the public hearing. Evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tyler Ellsworth with the Kutak Rock Law Firm, the city's bond counsel. This public hearing this evening is, of course, regarding the Grand Street RHID project. And when we set the hearing for this evening, it had been my hope and my intention that we would have for you not just a public hearing tonight to talk about the details of the project, but also a development agreement that was teed up and ready for your approval as well. And as it turns out, even though we've had very productive discussions with the developers team over the last several weeks, there is one detail that we're still in the process of finalizing. And so that development agreement is not ready to come before you tonight for your consideration. So what I would request is that if you have any comments from the public or any questions of me, or if there are any questions that are asked, I'm happy to respond to them. But after those public comments are received, if there are any, that you continue the public hearing to your August 7th council meeting. So.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there any public comment this evening? And so you're suggesting that we close this public hearing, but
Continue it, don't close it. Just keep it open. But if you entertain a motion to continue it to resume at your August 7th council meeting, then we'll just pick up at that meeting where we leave off tonight. That way you can keep entertaining comments, and there are details of the RHID development plan that will be presented at that point. So,
excellent. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
And you said August 2nd?
August 7th.
7th.
Yeah.
Motion to continue to suspend this public hearing, continue it to the August 7th council meeting.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Deaton. We continue to the August 7th council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? All right, continues.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
All right, we'll move to public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. No profanity, no personal attacks. There is a 5-minute time limit. Clock is to your left. Please state your name and address for the record. The podium is now open. Evening, Jennifer.
Brought my neighbor with me, Rebecca. Hello, Jennifer Smith, 648 South Oak Street. Hello, haven't seen you all in a while. Good to see you. First of all, I want to publicly thank our Gardner linemen for Friday evening. We had on Oak Street, we had a pole go down and pole cracked in half, trees down, still raining. They were out there by 5:30 and had electricity and everything done by 10:30. So kudos, bravo to them. They were wonderful, and the neighbors fed them too as well. And we're very thankful that we have the utility department that we have compared to what's going on in other communities. And fire and police were there immediately too, right after, to secure the area because lines were down. Secondly, I want to thank the Gardner Park and Rec pool, Gardner Aquatic Center, and your staff, Jason, for the duck race event on Friday. It was fantastic, and I can't speak for the volunteers that worked tireless on that effort, but they did such a great job promoting and raising fund for the Gardner Gold athletes, and everybody had such a great time. We had kind of our own little celebrity. Teresa from Mix 93.3 was there and has posted that, and so your staff did a fantastic job, and as a citizen, I appreciate that. So, and last but not least, the fireworks. I thought the citizens did a great job first couple of days that they weren't supposed to shoot off, but Saturday rolled around and it started getting a little crazy, but not too bad. And then, of course, Sunday, the days they could shoot off, of course, was fine. Did have a lot of issues that, of course, I have ducks in my backyard, that the little shrapnels that were in my yard, I had to they look like pen caps that have been chewed, and lots of other things. I had to go out each day and scope my yard to make sure that they didn't get these things or the other caps that were shot off, because it could kill them. And not only did people continue to shoot off after Tuesday, but it went to the following Saturday that fireworks were being shot off around the area that we could hear. We do have a neighborhood now that has lots of small children, parents trying to get their children to bed, and going through all the measures that they were doing to protect their children. I'm not sure if there was any issues or any tickets were given out or anything like that. I'm sure you'll hear that later. But I still am 100% behind that this needs to be a citizen vote, not a council vote, that one day we need to take it to the citizens of Gardner to vote on this issue. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate it. Any other public comment? We'll move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda? Removed. Hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shoot, second Deaton. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. No planning and zoning consent. Moving to committee recommendations. Committee recommendation number 1. Consider authorizing the execution of a progressive design build phase 1 agreement with Crossland Heavy Contractors Incorporated for the preliminary design of the Kill Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility Expansion Project. John.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Rather than me reading the council election form, I have Jeff Lemire. He's our utilities manager, and also a representative from Black and Beach and Crossland. They're here to answer any questions regarding their qualifications or what process we use to select them. So.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Like Don said, I'm Jeff Lemire, Utilities Manager here at the City of Gardner. On July 6th, the Utilities Advisory Commission meeting brought forth a recommendation to the City Council to award the engineering services contract to the Crossland Heavy Contractors, Inc. for the Phase 1 preliminary design of the Kill Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility Expansion Project. February, we went out for a request for qualifications. End of March, we started the selection process in which we had 4 design firms submit proposals, in which we proceeded with interviewing 3 of those teams based on those initial proposals. As you can see, we had a group of selection committee that represented multiple different departments within the city, from community development, public works, to our wastewater treatment plant staff and just utilities staff in general. Then we interviewed them in April 9th of this year, and the selection committee then was reassured on their initial thoughts that Crossland Heavy Contractors and Black and Veatch would be the group that we'd be moving forward with for this project. Therefore, we're here to answer any of your questions. As Gon said, we have representatives from Black and Veatch and Crossland here to answer any questions that we may have for construction or design. But we would suggest authorizing the city administrator to execute an engineering service contract with Crossland Heavy Contractors, Inc. for the Phase 1 preliminary design of the Kill Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility Expansion Project in the amount of $1,291,000.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll open it up to public comment on this item. If there is any. Doesn't look like there is. Council, questions, comments? Necessary thing. Okay, with no questions or comments, do I have a motion for defending recommendation number 1? Second. Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We authorize the city administrator to execute an agreement with Crossland Heavy Contractors Incorporated for Phase 1 preliminary design of the Kill Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility expansion in the amount of $1,291,000. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Committee recommendation number 1 passes. No old business. Moving to new business. Item number 1, consider authorizing the execution of an agreement with KC Air Show Charities to be a featured sponsor for the 2023 KC Air Show. City Administrator.
Good evening. When we first started discussing the air show returning this year, they had indicated that financially that this was a tenuous proposition for them, and they asked for help from the city, mainly police department, fire department, for security costs, and asked for in-kind services. Through those discussions with former Chief Meyer, that was something that the county and the fire department wasn't willing to do. So they asked us, and this actually was discussed several months ago, and I just received this agreement. They asked if the city would donate $25,000 to be a featured sponsor. The agreement ensures that Gardner's recognition in marketing, promotion materials, and advertising. This is something that they feel is necessary for them to make this event viable and for future consideration for coming back to this area. The request is that we execute the agreement with KC Air Show Charities to be a featured sponsor in the amount of $25,000. The money would come from the Transient Guest Tax Fund. I did poll all the members of the Economic Development Council with one exception. I accidentally left Mark Baldwin off the email and put Matt Wolf on there instead. So his vote and comments don't count. No, but I apologize for that, and if you have any questions.
What's his review of?
All right. Thank you, Jim. Any public comment on this item? Okay. Council. Mark?
Go ahead.
What do you
Oh, we're all waiting for what you have to say.
Well, so obviously having the air show here, one, is nice and fun if you enjoy it. I've been the last 2 years. It's great. Secondly, there is some benefit to it here. I mean, one drawback is that people are bussed in and out and not coming through town and stopping at Quick Trip and buying stuff. So there's, how much benefit we get out of it is probably questionable. And the real thing, as I read through this agreement, was that other than our logo on a few things, I don't really see a benefit that wouldn't already occur for us as a city. Right? It's in the same location, essentially the same exposure is there.
other than maybe our logo, which I don't know how much that's going to get utilized, paid attention to, and people care. I mean, a lot of people think it's in Gardner already, even though it's not. So, and then several people probably could care less what town it's in, as long as the planes are flying. So, personally, somebody's going to have to convince me what it is that the city gets out of spending these dollars that we couldn't put it towards something else for economic development.
When I see it says our logo is currently on the website, but it seems like it's pretty late for us to be on others. I mean, we're less than a month away, right?
Well, they haven't started their like radio promotions
Okay.
and things like that. So that's, I think, where you get the most bang for your buck is with TV and radio. So I did try to negotiate a parking area in Gardner, but the cost of doing that was significantly more than the donation. So.
And I know the last year that I bought a parking pass because they didn't have enough people choose the Gardner High School for parking, and so they just canceled it and told anybody who chose the high school to go into Olathe. And I was like, well, I'm not going to drive to Olathe so I bought a parking pass. But I don't know if that's part of why they won't use a spot in Gardner for parking. But I agree with Mark, it would be nice if because really, unless you buy a parking pass, you never actually enter the city of Gardner at all as being part of the air show. You get bussed in from Olathe, you get bussed right back to Olathe. They're not eating at our restaurants or buying any of our gas. But I don't think it's a terrible deal for putting us on the radar.
And they do business with our, I think it's Moonlight Liquors and Hampton Inn, and they do make, the cost of the law enforcement and stuff is
And I
pretty
think-
significant.
In my opinion, I don't have the actual numbers, maybe somebody does, but I think the economic benefit far outweighs 25,000.
So I'm sure people are staying I'm sure families come in for this event and stay with their.
And we have that in our transient guest fund. We have the money. in
Oh,
there
yeah.
for any place.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
You're right. Some people do come and stay at Hampton. I guess my perspective is, are those people going to stay at Hampton regardless of if our logo is on the paper? And I think they're going to because the hotel right there probably would. So, in other words, I don't know if the 25,000 gains the citizens of this city anything extra.
I get that,
Well-
except if maybe I heard it wrong, if they're considering moving it outside of the area, if we don't do it,
Right.
then we lose out on
There,
future opportunities.
that was what I picked up when they were talking about the future viability of the event. That language is alarming.
Yeah. Well, they pushed us hard in the very beginning to reduce the cost of
Yep.
police and fire.
Of
That
course.
made, when we did the first presentation over at the airport, that was the main focus of the presentation is how much more police and fire cost here versus what it cost in Kansas City and other places.
Mhm.
So, because a lot of, if this was in Gardner, then we may have provided police service and things like that, which in this situation with having Fire District 1, having the city, we have to be in lockstep to
And the sheriff's
actually-
department.
Right.
I personally think, if we're just looking at just this year, not like we have to pay this money so they'll come next time, I still think it's a good partnership because I do think a lot of people come to Gardner, and I know it's maybe just on their website now or whatever, and I don't know how much business it really brings, but I would be for it this year. Maybe next year, I don't know.
I'd love to have some idea about the attendance figures for year over year from 2020 to 20, or was it 2021, 2022?
You have any idea?
It'd be nice to,
Yeah, I'm thinking it was in the 20,000 range.
both years,
Yeah.
or is it?
Yes.
Did it drop off in
It
2022?
actually dropped off last year some.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that is playing a role in the discussions that they're having, and
Well, last year probably didn't help them because it ended up being a low show. And
Yeah.
You can still buy tickets till almost the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
So you look at the weather, and you go, maybe I'm not gonna go this year.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, a lot of Gardner people are just watching them fly all over, the days before.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got our own little
look
air
at
show.
pictures on-
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not biased or anything, but it could have also been because it was the Air Force and not the Navy last year.
Okay, we know where you
Well,
stand.
Okay, well, the first year was obviously going to be the best, right? Independence Day, you had both the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds.
Yep.
Right? You weren't going to top that. So
Mhm.
we were always going downhill from there.
I think might not necessarily bring people into Gardner as much as we think because they come in from the bus from the parking lot. But there, like you said, there's a lot of people here in Gardner that live in Gardner that can see it from their house or go drive to a parking lot and watch it. And I mean, everybody in Gardner, as far as everybody I heard love it. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
I know people come in from out of town and sit in the Walmart parking lot or sit in, I mean, I remember the first year.
the
I was
ice
one of those
machines,
that
the ice chests were completely empty at
Walmart
Walmart.
sold out of chairs, they sold out of ice, they
Ice.
sold out of water. I mean, it was insane what they were selling
Yeah,
that weekend.
yeah.
I mean, I look at it as a partnership with hopefully helping to continue that partnership for future years. I don't know what their plans are.
Well, there's also something to be said about the mentions of Gardner in regional media. It used to be 5 years ago, you had a hard time finding anything that had Gardner associated with it anywhere in media. The last 2 or 3 years, that's changed, and a lot of it has to do with the air show. I know we had daily mentions on Royals Radio 2 years ago, and we've done other things in other venues and other media to be able to leverage the air show to a wider audience. And every time they hear the word Gardner or the words Gardner, Kansas in mentions in regional media, it draws more attention to our area. It provides more indirect opportunities like development and other things. So, I mean, I don't want to see the air show go away. I think that if it's $25,000 to keep the air show in Gardner, I think that's a small price to pay, relatively speaking, for the exposure and the mentions.
I don't disagree with the mention part. I don't think whether or not we do $25,000 or not will make the decision whether or not it stays. I firmly believe that is not on the table.
Could be a negotiating tactic.
Do we have any hard data from any of the businesses, Matt? Do we have anything from Walmart or anybody that said that weekend, year over year, or those couple of weekends that, hey, we've had an extra amount of sales and it generated this much tax revenue and it's more than 25 grand?
No, we don't have any kind of information like that. We'd have to ask for it.
I did 3 extra adjustments that week, and I did it all together.
People cranking their necks to look at.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the teachers that went on the ride.
Or getting startled from the afterburners, and then just cracks the back.
But they did have numbers of overall impact to the area. I saw those numbers on here.
If there's a public comment, can somebody come up? I see somebody waving their hand.
Yes, yes.
Oh, good.
Please.
Thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, you and I kind of match. Sorry, my background is in tourism, travel and tourism, and hospitality management. So one of the questions that we were talking about with the chamber and the Convention and Visitors Bureau probably looking into this is collecting that data. So when you were just talking about the mentions, 5 mentions on the radio surpasses the $25,000 media buy. So with that data, the chamber can collect, we can send information out to try to collect the data for the sales for that week and after. And then also the chamber could come up with bounce back cards, or any of the restaurants or breweries or anything could come up with bounce back cards to be passed out at the chamber tent. So that way you can start to collect that data. So.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. Well,
I think I'm okay with it this year as long as
Yep.
we are looking at data, know that it's not gonna be for sure in future years, but let's really look at the economic impact over the last couple of years and especially this year.
Well, and to Mark's point, if we can continue to, if we're moving forward with an idea like this and say, hey, we want to partner with you, but hey, partner with us too. How do we get, a shuttle location inside Gardner? I know you're working on that, but I mean, maybe this is our inroad do that. Because they need to understand that's important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Some sort of showcase, satellite location, or something like that. Maybe even some sort of like an experience type of thing, a fan zone or whatever you want to call about. I mean, I'm just thinking outside the box here. That would, you know, attract people into the city someplace.
Well, I think, well, the majority anyway.
Hey, you told you not to listen.
So, if we want to go ahead and move forward, is there a motion then on this?
So moved.
Second.
Motion shoot, second Deaton, we authorize the city administrator to execute a sponsorship agreement with KC Air Show Charities for the city to be a featured sponsor for the 2023 KC Air Show in the amount of $25,000. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? New business item number 1 passes. Thank you. New business item number 2, consider accepting a voluntary annexation with landowner consent. Jim, you again.
So if you recall, when we annexed the Strong property on the east side of Clare, which is adjacent to these properties, we agreed to put in a lift station and a force main to connect to the Grotto force main to serve the top 150 plus acres. So this particular property, this set of properties is important because the floodplain runs, and you see the large pond, straight through this property from the northeast down to the southwest, where our Cedar Niles lift station, the one we got the appropriation for Congress, is going to be. So in lieu of the lift station and force main, we can put in this gravity line and gravity the Strong property, not only the top 150 acres, but eventually gravity the rest of the 340 acres of the Strong property. So strategically, we get a huge advantage by annexing this property and agreeing to put in a gravity line that will serve all the properties along Clare. So with that, and they also are going to dedicate the right-of-way for the gravity line.
That's great news.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So with that, recommend accepting the voluntary annexation agreement from property owners identified within and adopt ordinance 2775.
Thank you, Jim. Any public comment on this item? Council?
Don't have any questions, but I will make a comment, and that is this is a huge, huge, huge win. You cannot overestimate the amount of impact this is going to have on development on the east side of I-35, and to get this group of homeowners or landowners involved with this is I know it was some Herculean effort on your part, Jim, and kudos to your team, but also and the mayor, because I know you were involved in that as well. But it's a huge get for our community, and it's going to set us up for the next 35 years of growth on the east side. Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent work on this. Thank you, Jim. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion shoot, second Baldwin. We accept the voluntary consent annexation agreement from the property owners identified within and adopt ordinance number 2775, an ordinance annexing land to the city of Gardner, Kansas. City Clerk.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Ween,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2775 passes. Thank you, everyone. All right, we will move to council updates. Let's start with Chief.
I don't have a lot. We will be participating in the National Night Out Against Crime in conjunction with the Johnson County Fair on Tuesday night, August 1st. It's going to be the first time that we've done that, and we're excited. And it's also family night that night at the fair, so we're hopeful to have a big community engagement. And then to answer the question earlier, we did not issue any tickets for fireworks over the 4th of July.
Were there any warnings or other?
We did run 20, I believe, around 29 calls for service where issues were handled. I couldn't say for sure if we issued warnings or exactly what those were.
Okay. Thank you. City Clerk?
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
Finance Director, Matt Wolf.
Nothing tonight.
City Attorney?
Nothing for me.
All right, Gons Garcia, Utilities.
Nothing tonight.
Jason Bruce, Parks.
Yes, a couple of quick things. Update on pickleball.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, wait, I was gonna be ready, and I made this shirt to wear. You gotta put my shirt on.
Okay.
While you're ready.
I'll do my other update first.
Okay.
Um,
Here,
Independence.
look. Listen, I heard pickleball. How about that? I hope it's a good update with all this drama.
Good update.
Okay, good.
I should have a couple of quotes coming across my desk this week. Excuse me. From a couple different companies to stripe 2 of the existing tennis courts at the high school. So once I get those, I'll send it off to the high school for them to look at, just to approve
Great.
and sign off on what we're going to do on those courts.
Okay.
So then once they approve that, then we can get it on the books. So estimate anywhere from 2,700 to 3,200 is what I've been told.
That seems like a pretty
It's reasonable.
price.
That's
Absolutely,
reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those courts will be used constantly.
I think this, like I said before, I know it's a small start, but I think it's a good start, and then we can figure out where we go from there. But I think the citizens are really gonna be excited about this.
Okay. And then second, Independence Day recap from the festival on July 4th. Great turnout, great show. I did want to take this moment to thank all those other city departments that had a huge hand in it. Obviously, PD is a huge help as always. But I also wanted to thank Fire District 1 and Johnson County Sheriff's Department. Fire District 1's a great partner for us. They were a big help again this year. So it was really good music. Fireworks show was amazing. It was a new company we used this year. So you always have those nerves when you bring something new into, but they did wonderful and were great to work with. So it was hot, but it was awesome. So I just want to thank everybody for all their hard work. And Jordan Lester just took it on that day. It was great.
It's a great show. Yeah. Okay, Dave Nopik?
Just one item, we do have Planning Commission next Monday night at 7 p.m. here in these chambers. Otherwise, I have nothing else.
Tim?
I was hoping Dave
Hold
was
on
gonna
a
give
second.
Dave's gonna give a US 56 update.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe not. So, so the US 56, I contacted Amin O'Day to get an update and try to get some more specific dates on their progress or lack thereof. So by what they've said, by the 26th of July, we'll have we'll switch over the east side of Moonlight. Will be switched over so that we'll be driving on new pavement. So at that point, all the old pavement will be gone. There'll still be 2 lanes east of Moonlight, but at least we'll be on new pavement. And as far as west of Moonlight, they should be working to have that open on by August 2nd.
Okay. All right. That's
Okay.
at least, okay.
And I know that you guys have probably asked this, but it seems like we need to finish the west part and all the driveways. It would have been nice if we could have gotten that all done
I
before we
totally
started this,
agree.
because there's so many driveways still that haven't even, they're still like, it seems pretty aggressive even for that date, in my opinion. I hope you're wrong, I hope I'm wrong. But that's just the frustration that I've heard people say, why didn't they finish this before they started the other?
The frustration.
100%.
Control it,
100%.
but-
Yeah.
The frustration has really been around, okay, we go down that road every day and we see it's like sunny outside and there's nobody there. I've heard that from tons of people that, for weeks at a time, they had like nobody there or maybe 2 or 3 people there working, when it could have been moving. And I know they have other projects, they have higher priorities, but that's what I think is unacceptable to myself and to folks that are complaining to me, and they're complaining to the city. They're saying, why aren't you doing something? I'm not you,
Right.
Tim, but why aren't you, the city, doing something about this? And we have to keep saying, well, this is a state contract. The state is responsible for the contractor in this case. And, you know, it's just frustrating, especially when they go down that road just like I do and don't see anybody there. Today they had, what, 6 people out there on the street that I saw. It's like, you know, this is a major project. To have six employees working is low.
I can tell you
Yeah.
that Kellen and Tim, and we talk about
Yeah.
this all the time, that they are pushing, but the problem is that once their contractual deadlines went out the window,
Yep.
we're probably their lowest priority. And there's really, I mean, we talk about this all the time about what recourse we have, and I mean, even the state feels like their hands are tied, you know, because there is no contractual deadline. And August 2nd, I mean, that's over a month later than
The
current
last
schedule
deadline, yeah.
that they put out for finishing the site. So it's frustrating for everybody.
August 2nd. Okay.
2024.
I hope you wrote that down in pencil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, because having said that, KDOT has no means to hold them to that date. I mean, they've got till September to finish the entire project. And that's why, I mean, and you see this on all projects where you won't see much going on because they've got their time frame to complete the work. As long as they're done by the finish date, then they avoid liquidated damages, which, again, in this case, it got, you know, going way back to the start of the project. I mean, that got thrown out, and it's just unfortunate. I mean, we're all frustrated with it.
Yep. My concern was that it wouldn't be done by the air show. And, you know, that's not a good look for our city to have that continuing to stay out there. But if August 2nd is the date, which
That's the date just to get this.
I have
The
my
west part.
skepticism.
That's
but
the west part, right?
That's the west
West
part,
side
yeah.
driveways.
East part won't be done. But, you know, if they can get the west part done, at least our businesses won't suffer.
Yeah.
And that's my concern. 100%. Does that also mean that signal at the Quick Trip is also going to be lit at that point?
We could, I think we've talked about it, but we're leaning towards waiting until the entire project is done. I don't feel like there's an immediate need for it. So we'll probably just wait till 4 lanes are up
Okay.
and all the way through.
All right.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate you working on that. I know you just get everyone complaining about it, right? Yeah. Yeah. And you're working hard, but there's not a lot to do. Jim.
So got a notification that our application for the Gardner Downtown Historic District will be considered on August 4th. It's been a while. When we put our application in, we were 26th in line, which was surprising even to our consultants. So, but it's coming up the 1st of August, so we should get something during August. I spoke to Kevin Jones, one of our lobbyists in Washington. They published the list of projects, and if you recall, we put in for $6 million for the Interceptor project. Didn't get anywhere close to that. The max that we could get was $850,000, and that's what we're listed for. That doesn't mean we're going to get it, but we're on the top of Congresswoman David's list. So, I mean, $850,000 is better than nothing. It was a difficult process because of the budget negotiations, so there was a cap. So I feel pretty good that we're being considered for anything. So I'll
that's
give you
great.
updates as I get additional information.
That's
Awesome.
great.
Yeah.
Helps to match.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Let's mix it up. Council Vice President.
I wanted to also give kudos to the folks in the city and all the departments for Independence Day. Job well done. It's a real pleasure to see that kind of an event in our city and have the kind of musical acts and the kind of turnout that we get from not only Gardner but also everywhere else in the metro. It's not a small event by any means, and I know Jordan is like. She's every year she goes through this, and every year she needs like 2 or 3 days to recover. But she does an amazing job, and her whole team and your team, Jason, is tremendous as well. So congratulations. That's all I have.
Council President.
So pickleball, Just FYI, I went to the high school tennis courts, measured them, played on them. I did not check all courts, but at least one that I played on, the net happened to be 34 inches height. If you make your own kitchen and then you use the lines that are existing and you pull in by a foot on the back, so essentially you have a longer baseline, or where the baseline would be, it's back a foot, but the sidelines were inside a foot. It was one way or the other. Anyway, it's about the same size if you use the existing service line that they have, and then you draw your own kitchen with a piece of chalk, which is what I did, and I played.
I'm assuming a kitchen is some kind of a pickleball.
That's
Yeah.
the court. That's the court.
So
name.
I just adjusted
Yeah.
the size of the kitchen from 6 feet to
Did
7
you
feet
hurt
because of the
yourself?
extra foot. I did not. I did not fall in the crack that was in my court. But anyway, it's doable with not much. So hopefully we don't get a lot of pushback for putting on line. Hey, got it.
That's called field research, ladies and gentlemen.
So with the air show, I'm hopeful that there's future partnership there. 25 grand over 3 years is 8 to 30,000. It's not a lot of money for any sort of recognition, but I would like to see us, the city, push then on our existing partnerships with the chamber and Southwest Johnson County EDC to collect the data. Because here we are at the 3rd year and we have no numbers. And this was always kind of a event that was the Kansas City Air Show, right? It's not Gardner Air Show, it's not New Century Air Show, it's Kansas City. And then it's over there. We just happen to be sitting in the vicinity of it, right? We weren't really partnered with it before. And hey, by the way, we're broke. Can you help us today, right? So if there's going to be a partnership or any benefit, then I'd like to see some sort of data on it. And other than that, the only thing I had was a question for Jason on the trail going to Quail Meadows. I walked it yesterday. At least one end is open, or I don't know if it's technically open, but the thing was down, so I went around. And I was curious, did we always plan on going around on the west side once we got up into Stonebrook? Because originally the concrete goes on the east side all the way up to the dead end, and I thought maybe we'd end up, I knew we had to cross at some point, but did we change that design late? What happened?
No, so the east side will eventually tie in to go across Waverly, because we own property just on the north side of, is that subdivision called?
Town Gate on the east side.
Thank you, yes. On the east side, and then that will eventually tie into
The new
Cypress Creek.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Cypress Creek.
So it'll be kind of a
So it's kind of forking there.
Yeah, so so tie in on the east side, and then the west side obviously ties into Kill Creek with the Quail Meadows one. And you are close; it's almost done. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell there's still some work to do,
Yeah.
but they got quite a bit done. Okay, and then there was a new barricade, fence, whatever you want to call it, at that same location on the north side of the road, where we've got that big drainage ditch that runs all through there, right along the trail, and there's basically a barricade fence that got put up on top of the culvert. And I was curious if that was required by some sort of federal mandate or something about being that close to the trail, or?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, I'm just curious because we don't have it on the south side and we don't have it anywhere else on that entire thing. So it just seemed out of place, and I thought, well, maybe it was required by the drone.
Yeah, that's something I can look into and let you know
Okay.
and see. Because yeah, I haven't heard anything about that till now.
Okay, thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Deaton.
I just wanted to let Jason Bruce know that I know we used a new fireworks vendor. It was an amazing show, and I was sitting out in the crowd and just, not talking
That's it? That
Which
can't be it.
I really liked that, actually. I thought the way that they did it, they timed it with the music really well. And so then playing the songs and stuff and kind of building that suspense added to it. And I thought the timing was really good. And I also liked that they did snippets of songs so that you weren't just sitting there waiting for that song. Like, I thought it was a great show. That was it.
Councilmember Roberts?
Okay, I'm just gonna repeat, I love the Independence Day celebration. Thank you for everyone in the whole city that put it on. It's a great event for the city and all the people that come that don't even live in Gardner. I had a little hint that it might have the suspenseful fireworks, because I talked to Jason during the event, and so we stayed. We weren't gonna stay for the fireworks because we were gonna get out of there. But we waited, but the parking and getting out of the parking, that was well maintained by everybody, police, staff, everybody. So thank you very much. And thanks for getting the pickleball organized. That's it.
Councilmember Ween?
I would like to echo Ms. Smith's comments about our utility department and alignment. I didn't have any particular issues in my house, but with seeing everything that's been going on in the area, it's really nice that Gardner can be standing out, that we don't have any customers out there that are still without power. I know, especially as warm as it is, I hate to have to try and keep the house cool without a little AC right now. And then finally, sorry to pile on, Jason, any update on Veterans Park, how it's going,
Yeah, they got posts up, ramps up. They're plugging away, just working around Mother Nature. So yeah, you'll start to see. So they're starting on the non-swing side first, and then they'll move over to the other side for the swing side. So yeah, they're going up pretty quick, and like you can start to see the color scheme pattern that we're going with too. It looks really cool.
is Main Street going to win, or is Veterans Park?
Oh, which one are we done first?
Yeah, which one?
I put money on Veterans Park.
I would put my money on veterans as well. I think they've definitely got they're the odds-on favorite right now. So.
There's only two of them.
25 grand on that.
August 2nd is the game.
So the first department gets that. All right.
That's all I have.
Can I double dip real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know when the South Gardner Trail is going to get started? I know we got that grant.
I'd have to go back and look at the proposed timeline, but I'd probably say late fall.
Okay.
Ish, but don't quote me on that. So.
All right.
I'd have to go back and look.
Is it going to be difficult to pour the concrete for that trail when you get that late in the year? Or are we going to have to?
I don't think so, because when we did Kill Creek Trail in I think it was COVID, 2020, they finished it right before Thanksgiving.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I was asked that by constituents down there because we know how bad that trail is right now. So.
And the good thing is a lot of those entry points when those businesses were put in were already done in concrete, so it shouldn't affect businesses because we're just replacing all that.
Correct. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. And you guys stole my thunder, so I have nothing further. So, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Ween. We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?